Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey now, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to your Hump Day Wednesday right here on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Someone's going to have to explain something to me. Why do they have Caroline Leavitt at the White House press secretary, wearing what can only be described as clothing from the Barbara Bush line at JCPenney? I don't know. And again, I'm not saying that she should wear anything flashy or whatever the latest girls are wearing now, but I always look at her and she's very modest. But my wife and I were at some place, this Southern clothing store, and there were a lot of these outfits that I see Caroline Leavitt wearing. And it has a very Southern, appropriate sort of look to it. Again, I'm not looking for her to look seductive, if you get my meaning. Of course, I want her to look professional. But I kind of look like there's a throwback going on with Caroline Leavitt and the clothing that she chooses to wear at the White House podium. Not that it's a bad thing. I don't want it to sound like a pejorative. I just find it interesting. When I look at her clothing, it is something I would see Barbara Bush wear. And I don't know, maybe it's a throwback. Polly says portraying a conservative look. That may be the case, Polly. The reason why I say that, and it tells you why I knew that I was right on line with this. So my wife and I, a couple of weekends ago, were at this Southern store. And again, it's called Southern Belle or something along those lines. And the clothing was very, very appropriate. Sundresses with a lot of ruffles and stuff, very long, nothing above the knee, all the way down to the ankle, but gave sort of a very wholesome look, for lack of a better term, a wholesome look. But there was this one particular outfit that was up on one of these half mannequins, and it was a sky blue or light blue top that was cropped all the way at the neck, crew neck, with buttons. It was a jacket, so to speak. And the buttons had like what can only be described as the buttons were flowers. They were black all the way down. And I looked at it and I said, wow. I said, that's very Barbara Bush. And another woman, a couple of women who were there shopping, we didn't know, had laughed when I said it. And my wife says, she goes, why are you always ragging on things? I'm like, no, I'm not ragging. I swear that this looks like something Barbara Bush would. So I took it upon myself to start grabbing the ladies who had laughed at my joke to point to the outfit. And they all looked at it and they went, oh, yeah. They immediately said it. Absolutely. They recognized that as a Barbara Bush look. So I knew I was onto something. But I'm seeing it now and I'm going, what's her name? Dana, why am I forgetting her name now? Dana from the Five and American Newsroom wears that all the time, and I see it a lot with the Caroline Leavitt. So it just matched me. Yes, Laura, she is a beautiful young woman. Again, like it doesn't take anything away from her. She's got Dana Perino. Thank you. She has an appeal. She's very pretty, very smart, very, very educated, and I like her. I just find it very weird when I see this look on her. And I feel like it's a throwback, and it's interesting. So I was just wondering if you noticed it, too, if it had that same Barbara Bush appeal. In the opening monologue today, I thought about this for a couple of days because I normally don't get into Supreme Court rulings because I was burned. I really believed that there was no way the Supreme Court was going to vote in favor of the Affordable Care Act. And of course, it was a strong argument at the time until John Roberts technically tweaks the law in order to establish it, I should say. So I was burned, so I tried to stay out of the Supreme Court because, as you've seen lately, many people have been angry at people like Amy Coney Barrett for siding with liberals. Sometimes Neil Gorsuch has gone there as well. Even Brett Kavanaugh, one or two times, has voted with the liberal caucus in the Supreme Court. So I try to stay away from it because I never know where it's going to go. Even the Dodd decision, didn't think that we'd be able to get conservative judges to vote down Roe v. Wade. I didn't want to bet on it. But this new, court case where oral arguments took place yesterday, this one's got a lot of people very interested. And I'm sure Bob Duff is watching it closely. And we'll address him in a little bit as well. And I looked at this, and I wanted to be thoughtful in my opening monologue in talking about this. And something popped into my head that has always bothered me in our culture as Americans. Does anybody remember the Washington Redskins? Does anybody remember the Cleveland Indians? Do you remember any of them? I know you do. I remember how outraged many of you were about the changing of those names. Just recently, we did a stupidest thing I ever read, or I read today, about a Long Island school where the local chapter, the NAACP, was suing the school for changing their name from Native Americans to the Spartans. And the NAACP chapter president was upset because the Spartans didn't allow women in combat. It's ridiculous. But all of that was done to remove any remnants of Native Americans. And I started following people in the Native American community. My wife is Native, Mexican, and has Native ancestry. I started listening to them, and one of the big arguments we had was about the Redskins, and she was screaming and hollering about how it was disrespectful for them to call them that name. It's just demeaning. And then I tried to listen to that, but I was overcome by asking, but wait a minute. What happens when you remove Native Americans from everything? You can't call a team that name. You can't have a mascot of that name. Even if it's positive, people have decided for Native Americans that there can't be any acknowledgement of them. In essence, you disappear them from polite society. There's no real teaching of them. And when we teach about them, we can only talk about how the white man came in and stole their land, broke their treaties, and killed them. That's the only stories we're supposed to tell. But there are no, let's say, there's no deifying. There's no, mountain ranges or sculptures or statues of any of them. Because that's always deemed by these activist class to say that any resemblance or semblance of that is disrespectful. Educate, not eradicate. It's from a little publication called the Daily Sundial. The woman's name is Yulissa Garcia, who's the reporter. She writes, activists have fought hard to remove names and logos of Native Americans from schools and sports teams across the nation because they believed they were derogatory and a symbol of disrespect towards the Native American community. According to the Native American Guardian Association, NAGA, as they're known, not a slur, they were wrong. The majority of Native Americans living in reservations actually love to see their names, vocabulary, and logos representing them. Quote, as long as they're using it respectfully, we're fine with it. It puts us out there even more, end quote. This according to Eunice Goodstar Woman Davidson, a full-blooded Dakota Sioux and a member of the Spirit Lake tribe in North Dakota. She is the founder of NAGA, the Native American Guardian Association. They're a nonprofit organization advocating for the increased education about Native Americans, especially in public education institutions. the greater recognition of Native American heritage through the high-profile venues of sports and other public platforms. Reese, why are you talking about this with the Supreme Court talking about gay and lesbian books in the library? Well, because the left apparently wants to have it both ways. That's why. What do I mean? Here's one of the sponsors of all of this. He is a councilman out of Maryland. This story stems from Montgomery County, Maryland, one of the most wealthiest towns in and around D.C. Evan Glass, or as I like to call him, Bob Duff's little sister, says that we have to have these books in the school. Why? Well, it sounds very similar to what the folks over at NAGA are saying. Listen.
There are kids who go home to rainbow families, showing the beautiful diversity that exists. And we know that a number of our kids are LGBTQ+. And the reality that we're talking about today is people want to erase us from books. They want to erase us from existing. And are we going to let them erase us? No, we are not.
See the point? You see, Evan Glass here, Councilman Evan Glass, says that we want to erase them because we don't want their books. But that's nonsense. All of it is nonsense. I wrote this little piece today. I want to read a little bit of it. I won't read it verbatim, but it says, no matter where you look, you hear stories of Native Americans' names being removed from schools, from mascots, professional sports teams. None of them are safe. You wear a tribal headdress at a Kansas City Chiefs games as a young boy did a few years ago, and members of the media will call him a racist, call his parents a racist. They called him a racist. At the same time, drag queens wear women's clothing with makeup, lipstick, fake breasts, and high heels, and not a word comes out about appropriation. Now we're at the Supreme Court, waiting for a decision on parental and religious rights in the classroom over the accessibility of so-called queer books in schools. Even Muslim parents have joined Catholic and Christian parents to oppose this mandate. The argument is being made that without these books, the LGBTQIA plus people will be erased. But there's no banning of producing these books. Not at all. Parents just don't want the school system, i.e. the government, helping in the marketing and promotion of books that no one would purchase on their own. That's all this is. If you think we should, I'd like to propose something. Let's have a fair compromise. People of the LGBTQIA plus region, if we're going to have these books inside the schools, let's counter them with the same amount of Bibles or Qurans or Torahs being read to children in the classroom. As you can hear Evan Glass say here, there are plenty of those children who go home to rainbow families. There are plenty of children who go home to religious ones too. So why not have those books represented? A lot of those children go into school and go home to military families. Some of them go to families where their parents are not home. Their parents are overseas serving this great nation. Why don't we bring in books that talk about patriotism or the virtue of serving this great country? Why don't we have those books read in the classroom as well? I mean, the idea is inclusivity, right? We must include. Truth is, they don't care one bit about including everyone. They just want them. They want the promotion of their own books. You see, I get a call here from Dave all the time talking about how he tries to get a book at the library about Walter Williams, Milton Friedman, or Thomas Sowell, and he's got to wait weeks before the library can even get the book to the library and then get it to him. Weeks, because they're nowhere to be found. But guess what? The conservatives aren't moaning about not being able to get the books. They just get them. And the rest of us, when we need to, we just buy them. We're not concerned with whether or not they're being taught in school, because guess what? If we buy them, when our kids get home, we can make them read them. Hey, read this Thomas Sowell book. Hey, read this Walter Williams book. Hey, read this Ronald Reagan book. You see, the part that I always find interesting is another thing that Evan Glass says here. He says that many of our children go home to rainbow families. Good. Perhaps the rainbow family could teach that rainbow child about rainbow ideals. Why put them or take them off the hook? You see, the part that I don't understand is that if the rainbow child has a rainbow family, and the only thing we're saying is that we don't want the rainbow book to be accessible to every child in the school who may have different ideals, you're taking the onus off the parent. The parent can teach them about every LGBTQ ideal there is. But see, the truth is that you want religious families, ones who do not follow that doctrine, you want them to learn, their children to learn it too. Without their consent, you don't even want their permission. You have no interest in it. You wish to indoctrinate, not educate. And you wish for the government to help you promote a book, as I said, that people wouldn't purchase on their own. Why? Are the sales down for genderqueer? Are they not showing up on the New York Times bestseller list? Why? Because no one is actively running out to go buy these queer books about gay uncles? So you want these books to end up in the school so that someone can do the promoting for you. The point is that this isn't about being fair and equitable. This isn't about being honest and true. This is about propaganda. This is about grooming. Just is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making false statements like erasing queer books. There is no effort to stop you from creating those books. You can write them all day. You can sell them on the free market. The problem is no one's buying them. You're talking about erasing the LGBTQ community, but there's a pride parade every year for them across the country in places you wouldn't imagine. Mississippi. In Memphis. You know, the racist, bigoted South? Yeah, Memphis. Huge gay community. They're everywhere. No one's being erased at all. The only people who are being erased are Native Americans in every facet. And you got to tell me whether or not it's okay to erase them from every walk of life. Because there are a group of natives here who think they're being disappeared. What do you say to them? I'd love to hear it. If you can't join us on the lines, join us in the chat room. I know you won't, but that's okay. I don't really need your permission, nor your response. This is one of those things that I know I'm right about. Let's take a break. When we come back, more news, more views, and, of course, your phone calls if you wish to. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. We'll play some audio from, what's her name, Randy Weingarten, head of the Teachers Federation, one of those teachers unions, what she said to Martha McCallum as well. So stick around. We'll be with that. Of course, we've got traffic and weather with Mark Christopher and Jason Catarinas coming up today as well. All right? It's Reese on the radio. News Talk, 1080 WTIC.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
Before I take this phone call, I want to remind you folks of a conversation that happened a little more than a year ago. I can even go so far as to say a year and a half ago. I was filling in here. In fact, it was quite regularly. And, you know, at this particular point, I was starting to get my groove at WTIC. And I was in a conversation with a well-known caller who's on hold now. We'll get to him in a second. And the conversation was about culture wars. And this caller said the famous lines that I will never forget. It was the most memorable conversation of all the conversations we've had. And that was when he said to me, the Republicans have to stop getting into these culture wars. In essence, saying that we were starting these culture wars that we couldn't win. And my retort to that statement was, abortion was a culture war, and it ended up in the Supreme Court. Gay marriage was a culture war. It ended up in the Supreme Court. And a year and a half ago, this caller was talking to me about this very subject, about LGBTQ rights and LGBTQ plights inside the classroom, where he told me, stop getting into these ridiculous wars about culture. And here we are at the Supreme Court on the very same subject. Let's go to Tim in Hamden. How are we doing, sir? Do you remember that conversation?
Very vaguely.
Okay.
It reminds me of a couple things. First off, are you a fan of the show Yellowstone?
Oh, yeah. Huge fan of that show.
Yeah, it's for anybody who would like to know kind of what the modern Native American is facing and everything. The Native Americans have a casino there, but they still don't, want that. They want more and more.
They want all of they want all of the Dutton land.
Well, they want it to return. They have a great deal of concerns about what is happening to their land that they thought was their own, being encroached by federal government, state government, and all that sort of stuff.
And developers who wanted to turn it into like casino or people's playgrounds because it's in Montana.
That they couldn't even afford to live,
right,
with and everything.
Exactly.
But it reminds me of the fact, I grew up in Oklahoma, where, of course, the tribes were essentially moved from the East Coast to Oklahoma. It's called the Trail of Tears.
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot of people don't realize was that the Native American people went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they said to Andrew Jackson, no, you can't do this.
Okay.
You can't move these thousands and thousands of people. This was the Supreme Court. And he said, Butkus, we don't care. I've got the guns.
Right.
And they essentially forced them. They thought they had some sort of legal right.
I apologize, Tim. Why is it, for some odd reason, this appears to be going off the subject matter. The subject matter is that we are hearing from the Montgomery, Maryland legislature, people like Mr. Glass, Councilman Glass, who are saying that LGBTQ people are being erased, of course, with this nonsense that they're eliminating books. No, they're saying you can have the books. The only thing they're saying is that you cannot have the books inside the libraries of our schools, and you cannot teach it to our children without our consent. And I said, in comparison, is that they removed Native Americans from schools without their consent. They didn't care. They just associated or appropriated the rights of Native. Yes, they did. And I'll tell you why I know this. Because every polling data suggested when you poll Native Americans about the Redskins or about the Cleveland Indians or about the Seminoles or about the Kansas City Chiefs, they overwhelmingly feel as if their heritage is being represented not fairly, but triumphantly. Triumphantly. That's what they say overwhelmingly. Yet, white activists and the activist class...
Wait.
Hold on. The activist class has spoken for them and removed their images, have erased them from polite society in those cases.
You cited the group that wants to promote and have more, Native Americans in sports, that sort of stuff, right? That was the group that you just cited.
Yes, the Native American Guardian Association said as long as it is done...
Guardian, yes.
Right. As long as it is done respectively. Respectfully, they do not want their names being removed. They feel like this is them being removed. And again, I said, who are the people who are advocating this? They're not natives. They aren't. They're liberal whites. And you know they are. No one's even asked the Native Americans. It's being done without their permission, much less their consent. What? Okay, I guess he just caught him. They just don't. They have no concern for it. And the same thing is being done here. That's where the comparison is that this is so typical of the activist left. They'll remove you without your consent, and they'll inject their ideology without your consent as well. It is never about you. And you have all these people screaming and hollering, talking about fascism and totalitarianism and authoritarianism. That's what this is. What do you think, Bob Duff? You're an elected official telling parents that you don't give a damn what they think about what's being taught in the school. You don't think that's a little authoritative? You don't think that that's the administrative state telling the American people, the ones who vote for you, that they have no say? How dare you scream fascism? That is ridiculous on its face. And everybody here knows it. Everybody knows it. I don't need anybody running around here patting me on the back saying, yeah, sure. I got people in the chat room talking about the people who are offended are the ones who should have the rights to say what is offended, what's offensive. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because being offended is subjective. There's no science behind it. There's no secret sauce that says that you get to determine what's offensive and that is it. It's sacrosanct and everybody else needs to shut up. It's ridiculous. People on television in consensus said that Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish singing I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas was racist. Does that mean it is? Because a bunch of people on Twitter said so? Do they get to determine what is and what isn't offensive? No, of course not. Just because one group of the loudest get to say something and it immediately shows up in the newspapers or on radio, all of a sudden, oh, they're offended. Stop the presses. Everybody get in line. We used to call that something, mob rule. There's no thought in that. There's not even a conversation. Everybody can wake up tomorrow and say, I'm offended. All of us. And by the way, let's try this on for size. Let's say a majority of us in Connecticut had stood up and say, we want the Bible in schools. We want the 10 Commandments read in schools. What if that were to happen, if a majority of us were to do that? What do you think the legislature would do in Connecticut? If a majority of us, say it was 75%, we all said we need to bring religion back into the schools. Would they say that mob rule then? No, absolutely not. It's frowned upon. Attorney General William Tong would run to the courts and put an injunction on it. I don't know why you got cut off, but what were you saying?
I don't even know where I got cut off.
Okay, I don't either.
Talking about the fact.
Yeah,
but the fact is that there are gay families and stuff. People said that.
Yes, of course there are. I didn't dispute that. I said there are gay. Hold on, Tim. I said, of course there are gay families. But if you're a gay family, wouldn't you be the most apt to educate your child about gay lifestyles? In fact, that is in your home.
If you are gay, and that's grooming in and of itself.
No, it isn't. Again, listen,
gay families should let their children to determine their own needs.
No, I'm not disputing. I'm not disputing that if a child decides that they want to be gay or they are gay, I'm not disputing that. You're having a conversation about things I'm not talking about. What I just said was, and this is what Evan Glass said. He said these are people who are going home to rainbow families. And I made the point that there are people who are going home to religious families, and there are people who are going home to veteran families. Hold on.
Right.
And I said, if you want to meet the measure, and I'm trying to give an olive branch, which apparently you're ignoring, if we must, right? If there's no argument to be made and we must have these books read in class, I want to meet that measure. I'm saying that, guess what?
Read in class?
No. These books are being read.
They should be in the library.
No. Wrong.
Okay,
pay very close attention. Here's Randy Weingarten talking listen, Randy Weingarten talking to Martha McCallum on Fox News yesterday.
Just as an example, my pronouns are like the weather. They change depending on how I feel, and that's okay because they're my words. Sometimes I use all the pronouns I can think of, just as one example here.
Let me put it this way,
Go ahead.
Martha, and I think that this will be shocking to you. These would not be the books I would be reading as a classroom teacher to kids who are 4 to 6 years old.
And that's where the debate is. There are children between the ages of 4 and 6 who clearly don't get books out of the library, who are having these books read to them in classrooms. So again, back to my olive branch. Back to my olive branch.
If you could stop, filibustering for 1 second.
No, I just want to make my point so that you can address my point.
Where is this being taught in the state of Connecticut?
Again,
I'd like to know
specific. Listen,
I don't see it, but
listen to what I'm saying to you, Tim.
You don't let me.
Tim, I haven't spoken. I haven't even finished my thought yet. You're trying to listen. You're trying to go in another direction. I'm saying to you that these books are being read in classrooms where children are between the ages of 4 and 6. They do not take out library books. They want to introduce these books inside the classroom and read them to the children. My olive branch, and address my question. You thought they were, they are not. Address the point that I just made.
But I'd like some proof of that before you go off.
Randy Weingarten is the head of one of the largest teachers unions.
Not the book. She said that's not the book she wants read.
She said, I would not read these.
I haven't heard that in Connecticut.
So what?
We're one of the most liberal states around.
Okay, so I'm still going to make my point. I said I would like to give an olive branch. If they want to read these books to kids between the ages of 4 and 6, let's read the Bible or the Quran or the Torah to children in those classrooms. Let's introduce religion, because some people come home to religious families and they got veterans. How about some people come home to veterans? Why don't we read books that are patriotic and talk about joining the military to 4, 5, 6-year-olds?
So we're going to read the Bible, which
why not
accept slavery?
Why not
in the classroom?
Why not?
We're going to talk about killing and incest and all the other things.
This book talks about drag queens and wrapping people in leather and lace. These books, have you read any of these books? Do you know anything about these books?
I am very well of that. You're just
no. Tim, answer the question. Have you read any of these books that you're defending?
So basically, what I'm saying is that a lot of gay young people have straight parents. Where are they supposed to get that information about what they feel in their heart?
Oh, okay. I'll be happy to tell you. Because you asked the question, now I'm going to answer it. You said there are plenty of gay kids who have straight parents at home. So if a straight parent has a gay child and they wish to affirm their child, don't you think they would be able to get that literature for them?
They're scared to death of even talking to the parents.
Oh, now you know what they're thinking. Now you can make the assumption.
You're out of your mind.
Tim, you don't even hear yourself saying that you know what straight parents say to their gay children? You saying that you know that? Where's your evidence of that?
But you don't even mention the fact that a lot of people know that their parents. I could tell you 100 people said.
How fast does it take you to get off of something
on the street?
How fast does it take you?
They would commit suicide.
How fast does it take you to abandon ship when you catch yourself in something as ridiculous as knowing what straight parents can do with their gay children? You don't know what they can do. You don't. And you know you don't. That's why you're not saying anything anymore. That's why you completely clammed up.
I know.
It's
know
okay.
everything. No
nice try, Tim.
Nice try,
Tim.
Try.
You can have a different point of view. Just back it up with something that's remotely close to the facts. That's all. Let's take a break. We'll get some more phone calls because I know a lot of people want to call in and chime in about this. We'll extend it. We'll talk a little more about it. Stick around. We're back. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
It's Reese on the radio. Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. On NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we're back. And, before I'm going to get everybody on the phone, I promise. You guys are going to have to stick around for a quick minute. But I want to thank my esteemed, and I mean esteemed, Reese on the Radio Research Department. And the good work of Lori L. Lori, I love you. You are officially a part of the Reese on the Radio Research team, as well as Craig in the car as well. No sooner than asked, Tim in Hamden said, I haven't heard anything about it in Connecticut. Well, that's probably because sometimes stories move fast. News is coming at you all the time. So Lori was quick on the draw and found this story. I have the headline right there below me. You can watch it. Tim is in the chat room, so I see him there. Tim, you can see that yourself, so don't make no arguments because it's there. This is from an article published on November 15th, 2021 by a woman named Brittany Bernstein. Headline: Kindergarten students in Connecticut learn about being transgender with social justice standards. Elementary school students in West Hartford, Connecticut public schools are being forced to undergo social emotional learning through the equity lens, as district officials has repeatedly told parents that they may not opt out of the curriculum, which aims to teach students a set of social justice standards. Parents from the district contacted the nonprofit Parents Defending Education to share concerns over materials being used to teach elementary students about group identities, including transgender content being taught to kindergarten students. Okay? Okay? So let that be a lesson to you. One parent raised a red flag about When Aiden Became a Brother, a book being taught to fourth grade students that the parent described as full-on gender theory, which is teaching students that the sex you're assigned to birth is wrong. Now, again, that's not something that a teacher can teach a kid by picking up a book at the library. See, this suggestion that kids are actively going into the library, seeking out these books, is bull. That's never how libraries have worked. Anybody? When's the first time, the last time you didn't go into the library looking for a specific book? Hey, I've got to do a book report on Martin Luther King Jr. Hey, I've got to do a book report on General Patton. Hey, I've got to do a book report on Ben Franklin. That's how every kid goes to the library. Every kid. So it isn't about just putting the book in a library. It's about putting it on an end display. Or in this case, from 2021, reading it to the students. It's indoctrination 101. That's all. It's just a fact. That's why we're at the Supreme Court. It's not about the books in the library or this nonsense that we're trying to eradicate the books. Write the books. The only thing these people are asking is for the government, local and federal, to be the marketing team for homosexuality, transgenderism, or gender ideology. That's it. Free publicity to indoctrinate your children. That's all. Prove to me it's otherwise. We got rid of all the ridiculous commentary. Let's take our first check of the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christophers in the BPS Traffic Center. Happy hump day, sir.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
We're back. We're going to get weather and traffic in a second, and we'll get to that. Stupidest thing I read today involves Yale University. I was going to talk about it yesterday, but I saved it for today. As if the folks over at...
Turn up or get on the mic.
I'm sorry. Really? Was I that low? Oh, no, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, the Yale University, I was saying. These Ivy League schools, they can't seem to get it right. It's like every day you wake up, it's turning into the dumbest thing in the world that's going on there. I don't know. I don't know how they survive. And I don't know if a college education from any of these schools are going to be beneficial to people in the future. I don't know what that's about, but we'll talk about it in the stupidest thing I read today. If you do want to join us on the phones, call up 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. If you missed the opening monologue, I was thinking about this Supreme Court case, with the LGBTQ books and listening to the argument. And it's always overstated that people want to eradicate the books. No. Keep the books. Sell the books. Promote the books. Get a budget. Market as much as you can. And go from there. If there's an interest, if there's a true interest in them, the kids who need those books will find them. It's not like they don't know. A kid can use the internet today. Hi, are there any books on LGBTQ lifestyles? Boom, bam, like that, a whole list will pop up. But now they're saying that they have to have a school. And we know what the ulterior motive is, because once you bring it up, people who advocate for this can't answer it. They start deflecting. They go anywhere and everywhere and start talking about stuff that doesn't matter. I just talked about the Native Americans because I said, what does the left talk about? They don't have a problem with getting rid of Native American figures or just just their presence overall. They've got no interest in it. They don't care if they can't be seen anywhere. But the LGBTQ thing, you got to protect that at all costs. Because I don't know. I can see right through it. Maybe I'm just no dum-dum. That's all. We'll talk about that more. We'll take your calls. 860-522-WTIC. 860-522-9842. Now for some more weather and traffic on the 8th. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. We had an overturned tractor trailer earlier today. I'm sure that's cleared up, huh?
Yeah, it was 6:30 this morning, went right through the morning rush hour into the midday, so.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I haven't really seen him on this conversation at all. He's been selective. I've seen plenty of articles about him as people now talking about traveling with Chris Murphy. It's like, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Fred is in Middletown. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good. So there's an expression, offense can't be given, it can only be taken.
That's right.
There's that. And about Tim, I'll just say that I'm waiting to hear John McLaughlin.
John, bye-bye.
He claims to be from Hamden. Some people say he's from Wallingwood. Wherever the hell you're from, welcome to the show, Tim. Okay, I want to hear that.
You got it.
And I think that'll be the best voice to deal with Tim in, you know?
I don't think, listen, I know Tim makes the very, if I may, on the Tim front, this is not, this is not a criticism of him. What he makes, and I hate to do it because I know he's going to take it the wrong way. He makes the very based arguments that many who are protectivists in these communities do, right? So it's always the deflecting to the honest question, right? I asked about the comparisons to the Native community, ignored it. He wanted to go off in the weeds on Andrew Jackson. Nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I talked about, at least, let's meet it halfway. I'm extending an olive branch. If we have LGBTQ communities at home or these kids need to be identified, let's talk about identifying all children, veterans, families, religious families. Let's just read those books instead of addressing that by saying, you know what, I will meet you halfway. He immediately goes off the deep end and says, no, the Bible this, the Bible that. He immediately starts criticizing it as if he doesn't recognize that in criticizing the Bible or the Torah or veterans books, that he is expressing the same thing that many of us who are against these books are doing. But he's saying that he is allowed to rip those books apart, but not touch the LGBTQ books because, again, they are protected. And he exposes himself as all of them. That's why I like him on here, because he exposes exactly what their arguments are, which are empty.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a bee in his bonnet, a chip on his shoulder, an axe to grind. But I'd like to hear him interact with John McLaughlin. That's all.
You got it right. Absolutely. Bye. Thank you, man. Don't bring up Tom McLaughlin. I miss him. Tim is on his cell phone. This is a different Tim. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to have the same name.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you're a beeping saint for having to listen to that, but I get it. I mean, it does make for a good show, and it points out exactly how they are. But he's just like a donkey, when you back him in a corner, he starts eon and saying that you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You this, you that, you know more than him. It's kind of hilarious. But it just goes to show that's how this state is so liberal and progressive because of people like him. They cannot see past their nose on their face. I'm sorry, I sound like I'm attacking Tim.
But my question to that, Tim, is this. Like, look, it wasn't like listen, what we do in conservative talk radio is we do ad nauseum talking about why they're wrong and why they're this. But then you try to have at least a conversation that says, okay, we'll see it your way. Let's meet in the middle. And then you really see what it's like. It's never about compromise. It's the authoritarian behavior. And that is what Tim expressed. He doesn't even realize he's doing it because it's knee-jerk. It's so authoritarian.
I will always try.
Yeah.
I'll try to look at somebody else's side. You always have to do that.
Clearly.
Nobody's perfect. You might have it wrong, but they will never do that. it's their way or it's just you're an idiot.
Yeah, and again, that's the whole thing is like while they're screaming about how they want to fight fascism and authoritarianism, as soon as you say, fine, we'll compromise with you, they go, but there is no compromise on this. And I go, dude, that's the example of being fascist, is by not compromising.
Yeah, that's all I want to talk about there.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated. You got it, buddy. Let's go to Sean. Sean's been at home for a bit. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, how you doing? Number one, one of your commercials is the Chris Murphy fan club.
Yes.
I was doing I was doing okay before I heard that. I just because the guy just drives me absolutely nuts.
I think it's tongue in cheek. It's tongue in cheek. That's the reason.
I know it is. I know it is. But his name in Blumenthal. I mean, if you had the movie Dumb and Dumber, they would be the face of it, and he would actually be insulting the movie.
Poor Sean.
But anyway. But here's the part I don't understand. And I saw this on number one about Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Okay. I heard this thing about he got arrested transporting 9 guys, supposedly a construction crew from Texas to Maryland.
Correct.
He got stopped by the police for speeding.
Correct.
Okay?
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee. The officer didn't give him a ticket, even though he was driving under a suspended license.
It gets worse.
And the car belonged to, quote, his boss.
Correct.
Which happened to be a drug dealer.
Correct. It gets worse. It gets worse.
All this stuff, if I can find it, short of shooting, anybody who wants any kind of credibility, they can find it too. So how is he a handsome guy from Maryland, a father of 3?
Sean, it gets worse.
Beat the crap out of his wife.
Sean, it gets worse. It turns out that the police, the state police that pulled them over in Tennessee with those 9 guys, I know you didn't miss it. You only did not mention it. Aside from all of them having to write their names down to identify themselves, they wrote it in chicken scratch. The police officers could not determine what they were. If that wasn't suspicious enough, the police officers also asked them for their address, and that address also turned out to be the exact
same address.
Yes, it all turned out to be the same address of Abrego Garcia. But let's go one step further. Talk about a dereliction of duty. This is where it gets worse. The feds were called by the police department because of suspected trafficking, and the feds said, let him go. Ain't that crazy? So
that's gotta be the Biden administration.
No. It was far before then. It was before the Biden administration. That, sadly enough, was still during I think, in fact, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm almost certain that happened during the Trump administration. I'm almost certain it did.
Well, here's my concern. I think Garcia is having him be the test project for how to get the other 20 million.
Yeah.
Legally in the United States.
Exactly. Which,
if
again,
they can get him back,
who was aiding and abetting them? It turns out the state police. Look, this guy had the markings. This one police stop can only be described as the template to how traffickers get people into the country. The police had him and 8 people or 9 people inside the car, got all of this evidence with the chicken scratch, the address, the suspended license, the drug dealer owning of the car, and the feds still said, nah, he's cool. So I look at every person who's ever been pulled over with their out-of-state plates going into a town that they've never been in, and you know who you are. You've been pulled over and you said, man, they only messing with me because I'm from out of state, or they're only messing with me because I'm black and from out of state, or I'm this and out of state, or the people in the South don't play because I'm from a Yankee from up north. This guy, who had no clear documentation of any legality, was let off the hook. That shows you exactly how bad this is.
And if the abuse of his wife happened after that, they're responsible for that too.
Yeah, listen, exactly. All of it, and there was nothing done. And again, I think Greg Gutfeld said it best on the 5 yesterday, or the day before yesterday. He said this guy skipped every formality to get into the country. He was allowed to stay no matter what bad deeds he did. And now people want to complain about the due process to get him out. Screw that. All of that is bogus. And 100% right on Greg Gutfeld's part. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, buddy. Let's go to Ralph in South Carolina. Hey, Ralphie. Still in Florida?
Reese, I beg your pardon?
Still in Florida?
No, I'm back home.
Oh, okay.
I got in last night. Couple things. Democrats, they're apparently the biggest anti-Semite around, a lot of them, not all of them, of course. Yet they call the Republicans not.
Oh, he's breaking up bad. I'm sorry. I really, really feel bad. He's like awfully breaking up. Let's go to Adam in East Hartford. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Reese.
Yo, what's up?
I apologize. I'm at the cash machine. I just took out some money for you and the wife.
What are you going down to? Are you going down to go pick up the pick up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? What are you taking out money from me for? I didn't ask you to do that.
But you know, I always do something. Usually I'm in the store. Something's going on. Gary Byron has to put up with that, too, in the mornings. And Fred, it got old for Fred. But anyway, what I called about, though, that song yesterday, because I remember I was driving to Florida for my Air Force assignment in 1984. It's not called Ohio. It's called My City Was Gone. The Pretender.
That is correct. My City Was Song. I've been calling that thing My City Was Gone and Ohio every time I screwed up. But thank you for the correction. You're absolutely right. My City Was Gone because she is talking about Ohio, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Okay. Yeah, My City Was Gone is the name of the song. I think somebody corrected me on Facebook about that, too. And I apologize for that. Thank you for the correction. Let me get to some, I'm going to get to some other news and views, but I just want to make sure that you got in, Adam. Thank you, boss. So like I said, coming up in the stupidest thing I read today, what is Yale doing that makes absolutely no sense? And what are their students doing is going to blow your mind if you haven't heard the story yet. Also, I want to ask this question. Maybe somebody can help me with this. And I'm probably going to get into the weeds with a lot of people, but I'm asking, what in the hell is the interest in the Karen Reed retrial? Why are people interested in this case? And it's like it has nothing. There's nothing OJ about this. Okay? Karen Reed is just some rando. And I understand that, the gentleman who was killed was left out in the cold, and people believe that she's just a heartless shrew who left him to die. I get it. I understand that there's that part, but I'm still trying to understand why it has captivated audiences. If somebody could explain that to me. Like I said, I've done this for a lot of years. And I know when I hear a story that says that's compelling courtroom drama. I know, yes, I understand he was a cop. That, again, Lori, I think, I'm about to step in a bear trap. I'm about to step in a bear trap. I'll explain to you in a little bit why I'm saying that. Okay? Yes, it was a police officer. I know that. But this Karen Reed thing, the interest in it is about her. It's barely about the cop. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even Trayvon Martin, the interest was in George Zimmerman. You know? Like, George Floyd superseded Derek Chauvin. Like, barely people remember his name. They remember George Floyd, right? So that's why the interest in his trial was minimal. We didn't have wall-to-wall coverage of his trial because it was about everything else that had to do with George Floyd. Why? Because there may have been some things that have happened in a trial that would get people thinking otherwise. This Karen Reed thing is not making sense to me. Yeah, somebody says mainstream media is pushing this story. I agree. And Jason says because the news keeps talking about it. That, again, I agree. It falls, literally, I look at this and say everything about this story is falling. Its interest, I don't see it. I love courtroom dramas. I just do. Okay? When you see these courtroom dramas, Andrea Yates, that is a story worth listening to or following. The woman killed every one of her children, even though we knew this woman was going to be found guilty by reasons of insanity we may not have predicted. But that was a public interest story. The story of Susan Smith, when we found out that she kept her kids in their child seats and she pushed her, a Zuzu trooper into the lake over a man and then blamed it on a black guy? Come on. Those stories write themselves. I don't see it. Maybe somebody else is going to have to explain to me what the Karen Reed thing is. I don't get it. I've followed the news forever, and there's nothing stimulating about it. Every time it comes on, I go, all right, whatever. And again, not dismissing his loss of life. Of course, the loss of life. I'm just saying as a news person, I look at this differently, so maybe someone else is, I don't know, just maybe somebody. I'm just asking for help. All right, so stick around. We'll take a break. We'll get into more of this. I got the stupidest thing that I read today, Yale University. We'll talk about that. And, of course, more of your phone calls. We got plenty of stuff to get into in the 5 o'clock hour. 60 Minutes, the producer has quit, and what people are rambling about in the news media about that, and so much else that's going on. Fed Reserve area riots happened with the... Yeah, I remember that, Polly. Yeah, I don't know. Just I'm looking at that story and I'm just going, I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't know. Maybe my interest is... Maybe I'm not getting it. I don't want to say that I'm smarter than everybody else, but I'm not getting it. I'm just watching and just going, nope, not compelled. So we'll figure that out. Let's get to the weather and traffic. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. Have you been following this, or your wife has been following the Reed story at all? The Karen Reed trial?
I haven't been. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been following it.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Do I look that stupid? Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
A Yale professor by the name of Albert Laguna will be teaching a class to explore a Puerto Rican artist. Folks, not an artiste like Pollock or Moliere. No. This artist is a rapper named Bad Bunny. Roland, are you familiar with Bad Bunny? Did he ring a bell at all? He's got a... Of
course.
You know who he is. Okay. Bad Bunny, again, a Puerto Rican rap artist. And is that fair to say? Am I articulating his role correctly?
I wouldn't say he's a Puerto Rican rap artist. I think he's just a Latin pop star.
Okay, Puerto Rican pop star.
Yeah, he's a pop star.
He's a pop star. So he doesn't just rap. He sings?
Yeah, well, his music is more of the top 40 type.
Okay, top 40 stuff. Does he do political stuff? Is he like a Che Guevara, or is he like a Cesar Chavez, or anything like that? No, so he talks about, hanging out, getting the girls, maybe popping some Molly.
There you go.
Yes, of course. These are easy things to discern, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to know who Bad Bunny is or listen to any of his music. His name is Bad Bunny. I'm assuming he's not a good one. He's not like Bugs. He's a Bad Bunny.
Bugs was a Bad Bunny, too.
Hey, don't you dare defame him. Bugs Bunny was a good bunny, okay? He may have done bad things, but he's a good bunny. Nonetheless, this fall, Yale College will be offering a new course on the 3-time Grammy Award-winning artist. The course will be titled Bad Bunny, Musical Aesthetics and Politics. They will explore Bad Bunny's impact on culture and how music can be used as an avenue to understand the Puerto Rican diaspora. Yes, Bad Bunny, taught at Yale. If you think that's bad, take a wild guess, Roland. How many people have joined this class, who have enrolled in this fall's class? How many people do you think offhand? Take a wild guess.
It's probably sold out.
It is 84. 84 people have signed up for the class already. Let's get to the BPS Traffic Center with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Reese, thank you very much. Well, if you're heading 91 southbound, look for delays 36 down to 32 IMB. Another bump 27 to 28. A little slow again, 23 down to 22. And the Route 9 interchange in Cromwell.
84 out of how many?
No, just 84 people have signed up so far.
You'll lose
Oh, okay.
20 and 21. Middletown into Cromwell. After that, decent ride. Cromwell right through downtown up into Windsor. If you're traveling 84 westbound, delays 56 Governor Street out to 45 Flatbush. 84 eastbound slowing a mile before 46.
I like some of Bad Bunny songs, though.
I
think he was in a couple movies.
91 over
I
to
heard
the Bissell
he's very
Bridge.
popular.
2 westbound delays in East traffic.
Oh, yeah. All his concerts sell out.
A little slow traffic on the eastbound side of Route 2 as you move out by exit 3 Maple Street. If you're heading into Middletown now, 9 northbound delays 22 up to the Aragoni. 9 southbound's a little slow at the traffic lights at the Aragoni Bridge. If you're traveling westbound 84, look for delays as you move up on 26 in Cheshire up to right around exit 23 in Waterbury. An accident reported there. 84 eastbound Waterbury slowing by 18. More slow traffic 84 eastbound 25A down to the 691 interchange in Cheshire. Eastbound 84 Danbury tight 3 to 5. 84 eastbound in Newtown slowing from 8 up to exit 11. If you're heading southbound, Wilbercross Parkway delays 61 down to the West Rock Tunnel. 95 South New Haven slowing 46 down to 43 in West Haven. Traffic and weather together on the 8 WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
It's been a beautiful day. We've got more on tap the rest of the week. Tonight, mainly clear, cool, the low down to 46. Sunny and warm. Another great day for us Thursday, the high 77. Partly cloudy, milder Thursday night, the low only down to 52. Warm on Friday with a mix of sun and some high clouds, the high up to 83 to round out the week. Not as nice heading into the weekend. Cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm Saturday. It'll be breezy and cooler, the high 66. Sunday looking like the nicer of the 2 weekend days, though it's going to be quite windy. Partly sunny, still mild, the high of 66. Right now, it is 68 in New Haven. Also, it's 66 in New London now, 72 in Mansfield, 73 in Hartford. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
At Columbia Dental, we love to make kids smile. Our expert pediatric dentists specialize in children's dental care, making every visit fun and comfortable. Open 7 days a week. Call 860-645-0111 or visit columbiadental.com.
Hey, how'd you get your water heater fixed so fast?
Aiello Home Services, same-day plumbing. I gave them a call, and they had a plumber on their way. They even sent the plumber's real-time location, so I knew when they would be here.
Did you say same day? That's crazy.
If you need same-day plumbing, call, click, or text today and say, hello, Aiello. Call for details. Licensed for safety. P10277688, D10401465, E1185643, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom.
1 minute.
Overstaying its welcome? You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
The self-proclaimed love child of Rush Limbaugh.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, I won't have you guys sit on hold anymore. You've been there for a little bit. Let's go to Fulton, who's in Waterbury. How we doing, Fulton?
What's going on, buddy?
Chilling, man.
What
What's
do
up?
you think that department that's going to be in? The music department, history department?
Oh,
And
that that's a great question. I didn't even think of that.
A music department, maybe it's appropriate. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't pay $90,000 and take that course. But
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you know.
that's what I'm talking about. Again, listen. You recognize the absurdity of all of this, and this is, you know what? I'll even go back to our earlier topic about having these books in classroom. You don't need to teach a class on a rap artist or a pop artist. This is unnecessary. Now, if you want to talk about music theory and bring in somebody like or bring in music of Miles Davis or John Coltrane. This all makes sense. I would even go so far as to bring in some of the classics, for that matter, to talk about music concepts and things like that. That's important. I had a music class that they would play Benny Goodman when I was in class. And we're talking about junior high school. So I don't understand, like a popular artist, this is not cultural.
It's almost like they're just sticking it down your throat to stick it down your throat. Like it's okay, here's some more culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this stuff is already, people can have classes outside of the actual curriculum that you can take. And as you pointed out, nobody's going to spend, you couldn't convince your mother to take out a loan for you to take a class on Bad Bunny and his importance of Puerto Rican music.
Right. Explain it to your grandparents that you're going to take a class on, and that you're going to pay $90,000 for that. It's like, it'd be like, you're nuts.
Exactly right.
I wanted to talk about that Ibarra stop. You think he was a CI? Like, because if you're stopped in another state by a state trooper and your license is no good and no one's identifiable and the cop's just like, oh yeah, get out of here, just in case you crash down the road.
You know what? And that's, you know what? I'm glad you said that. You having thought about this on so many levels, that's the one thing I can't get my head wrapped around, because I'm saying to myself, this guy got caught in the Bible Belt.
Like, I would have never. I was a city cop.
Yeah.
State troopers, way more rules.
Exactly.
Cop,
right. This is a state trooper.
No license.
Right. This guy is a state trooper in the Bible Belt in the middle of the night. And the state trooper,
in a state that he's not even from.
Exactly. With people who barely speak English, can't write English, can't give a name, all give the same address. Everything about this is a red flag. And I'll go Black Lives Matter on this police stop. You got a bunch of brown people in the car with no documentation, and those cops didn't go, you guys got to get out of here. You guys,
in Tennessee.
Yeah, get against the hood.
So in the middle of the night, they called ICE or Border Patrol, and they got an answer within like 30 minutes.
Exactly.
The middle of the night, someone answered that phone and was like, oh, let me get their agent. Let me get somebody for you. Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe he did. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe he did have protective status all along.
Like, I'm thinking he got pulled over, called his handler, whoever his handler was, whatever Fed agency he was probably telling MS-13 on. That's probably why he can't go back to El Salvador. But he probably called that guy when he got pulled over. They called the Tennessee State Police, said, hey, you got this guy pulled over? Yeah, cut him loose. He got no license. Cut him loose. Cut him loose.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't know any state trooper worth his salt. Maybe I should, you know what? You know what? I'm going to talk to somebody in the Hartford Police or maybe Hartford State Police. I got to ask the question.
That's what I think.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sending out a plea right now, Fulton. Anybody who can call up from the Hartford State Police who's listening to what we're talking about here, about these state troopers in Tennessee getting 9 people in a car.
I don't think there's one Connecticut state trooper. Being a Waterbury cop, there's not one Connecticut state trooper that would let a guy go in it. No way.
Exactly. Thank you, Fulton. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later,
You
man.
got it, man.
Thank
You got it. Let's go to Mike in the car. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Reese. How we doing today?
Pretty good, sir. What's up?
Good. Hey, I did not call to talk about Bad Bunny, although you got me thinking about that. So what a waste of time and money. But I don't know if you saw the SNL 50th anniversary episode. He was on that for a couple of skits. My kid pointed out who he was. So.
Oh yes, I saw him. Right, I saw him there, and I didn't. I saw him there, and someone in another post said, "Oh, look, there's Bad Bunny," and I went, "Oh, okay." I'd never heard any of his work, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, I know. I called to talk about the Karen retrial.
Yes, please. Tell me what the interest in this is.
Here's the interest. Okay, obviously, most of us know that, okay, here's a woman who's being charged with killing her boyfriend who's a Boston cop.
Okay.
I think most people in the Boston area believe that the party that took place that evening was in the house that is owned by a Canton police officer.
Okay.
And it's alleged that guy did not die from being hit by a car. The crap was beaten out of him. And he was thrown outside.
Okay.
And the apartment where the murder or where the party took place, right after the party, shortly thereafter, was renovated. It was all new carpeting put in, all new paint put in. So there's no evidence there.
Wow.
There's an interesting story here.
Okay. So wait a minute. So why is the focus just on Karen Reed and not what you did? Now that seems far more compelling than the story I'm getting on the news. I didn't hear nothing about that. Is that just being covered locally?
I mean, Boston police. I mean, Boston news stations are covering that, and there's a lot of stuff out, on the internet when you do your searching. But is this a cover up by the Canton Police Department, or did this girl, kill her boyfriend? That's the issue.
Okay, so now, all right, so you literally, just with that part of the story, you just telling me that, saying that this guy, and again, there's that, and I think that was part of the mistrial, was she, and wait a minute, help me out if I'm right here, Mike. From what I hear, that one of the people who has joined her defense team in the retrial was a former juror from her first trial. Is that right?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I don't have that
Somebody who can confirm that, let me know. I'm almost certain I heard that in one of the news stories that, because again, that would be brilliant, right? You get retried, get one of the jurors, because they won't be called back to retry her. So you get him on the team. He was probably one of the people, voting for an acquittal. So he knows what the deliberations are behind the scene. John Beckman says that is correct. Okay. So yes, she did get one of the jurors on her defense team. Brilliant move. I don't know how anybody wouldn't. Because you get sort of the temperature in the room and what people would be talking about. Right. So now there's this element of, because somebody said that in the chat room, that she may be being framed. Okay, now that in and of itself changes everything. But there's no one in the news talking about that. They seem to keep talking about whether or not she backed over him, left him in the cold to die. No one's even talking about the assumption or the reasonable doubt that he may have been beaten beforehand. I haven't heard that anywhere.
That's one of the things I heard on one of the news stories recently. It was like, okay, they're saying he was killed by a car. No broken bones.
Right.
So I mean, I think if you do your Google searching, which I haven't, I've got relatives, nieces that I know up in the Boston area who talked to me about this recently at the party I was at. So that's my info. But I do a little dig, and I think you'll find something.
Okay, you know what? Now that you told me that, now I'm interested, because again, no one else was able to give me enough, meat, on this. I felt like it was just like, okay, but she's, she seems like a suburban housewife. She, maybe that's the interest. Does she like, mocktails and, she goes to PTA meetings? Like, what's the draw here? I just couldn't figure it out. Now it seems much more compelling. Thank you. And I'm glad I asked now. I'm glad I asked because I got my answers. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you, sir. You got it. You too. Ralph is back in South Carolina. Hey, Ralph, sorry about that, man. You were really cutting off.
No, I'm sorry. I was on my phone at home.
That's okay. So,
question now. Reese, I'd like a couple of answers from your buddy, Tim.
Okay.
Now, I'm the kind of person that believes in the laws, that people should obey the laws.
Okay.
And that doesn't make any difference what law that is. So I guess that makes me a conservative instead of, I just see myself as an American with common sense. It has nothing to do with politics.
Right.
And also what I'd like to see is people who come to this country, and I'm sure you feel the same way, everybody's got to be vetted. We have to know who they are and where they're from. And they can't just cross a river or jump over a fence. And that's how I feel. And because I feel that way, I guess I'm a bad person in the eyes of someone like Tim. I also feel that everybody in this country, Reese, has the same opportunity to either succeed or fail, depending on how hard you work and what you do. Everybody.
I would argue that even some of these illegal aliens take full advantage of the opportunities that are to them, even though they're being paid slave wages, even though they probably don't have any recourse to get taxes or fair representation as individuals. They probably are being, abused in their communities because they can't call the cops because they're living in hiding. But I would honestly say that those people, and if you really watch them, they always do, they always seem to do better than natural-born citizens in some of our inner cities. And I'll give you a perfect example. My who's celebrating a birthday today, I might add, my sister-in-law, Helen. She came into this country in the trunk of a car when she was 16 years old, many moons ago. And she is now a citizen, and she works in the medical field. And we're not talking, she's not some cleaner inside the hospital. She is a registered nurse. So this young lady obviously made a way for herself, even though she came into this country illegally, but got legal status. So I would say that, I believe that everybody has an opportunity here, and that's a pure example of it. So why don't people on the left ever promote these folks coming in here legally, because more than likely they're going to achieve greatness 9 times out of 10 and sometimes more successful than natural-born citizens. That's all.
Right, and look at all these people who are Hispanic and other nations who start businesses here and are so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there for everybody, Reese. I don't care who it is, but you've got to do it legally. Like I'm sure maybe your relatives, I don't know.
My family had to struggle. My granddad, who I consider the pillar of our family, is the patriarch of our family. He is the person I got all of my tutelage for. He got my business sense for, and my love for America I got from a man who was treated poorly in North Carolina, as a black man in a segregated South. And he gave me my patriotism because he's always loved this country, and he served it. So
absolutely, and that to me, that again, everybody who loves this country, and I love this country, so I guess maybe that makes me a bad person in Tim's eyes. But I believe in the law. I believe everybody has equal opportunity. I believe you've got to come here legally because, again, without being redundant, how many terrorists, Tim, do you think will come over that border and we're going to hear from them down the road?
Nah, and they don't care because, again, that's kind of how that goes. Thank you, Ralph. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to cut off last time, but I'm glad you got back. There's no interest. And I remember as a kid with my grandfather, Augustus, I might say. That was my grandfather's name, Augustus. You have to say, every time I say my grandfather's name, I always do that. I puff my chest out. I go, Augustus. That's a man's name. That's like a Greek god kind of name, Augustus. Very Roman. But when I said his name, I always said it with puffing my chest out. I wish I had a name like Augustus. But he was very proud. And I remember a time, I never told this story, but I remember a time my grandfather said something about me. And again, as a naive kid, I remember saying to my grandfather, I said, Grandpa, let's be honest. If you had a chance where you could either live here in America or go back to Africa to be with your own people, the place where they dragged you from, would you stay here or would you go back? And I remember him saying, boy, do you know where we're from? And I went, well, no. He goes, oh, well, I do. I know where my people are from. And he says, if I went back there, I'd be dead. And I went, like what? Like I was starting to think like he was like some long lost like king that if he went back like the tribes, He said, no. He said, they didn't want me. What? What are you talking about? And then he told me a story that I wasn't prepared to hear. And it was and again, we're talking about when I was 13 years old. Yeah, it might be younger than that, 12 years old. He told me the story that blew my mind. And that was when I knew I couldn't believe anything I was told on television or in the schools. He said the white man didn't go to Africa and just start grabbing people off the street and on the roads and in the jungles. Nobody came in there with a big net and said, get over here, Negro. He goes, we were sold by Africa. We're laid out on the Ivory Coast in cages, waited for us to be picked up. Blew my mind. Still does. Said, I'd rather be here in America. I own a business, don't I? Couldn't do that at home. Woo! Let's get into the BPS Traffic Center. Jason Caterina's got your weather. Mark Christopher's got your traffic. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm good, Reese. Thank you very much. If you're heading into Hartford right now, southbound 91, look for delays As you move down by exit 36 to 35 in Windsor, again 33 down to 32 A and B in Hartford, another bump 27 down to 28. Go slow again 23 Rocky Hill down to 22 in the Route 9 interchange in Cromwell. Northbound 91 looks pretty good. Cromwell through downtown up into Windsor. Westbound 84 tied up approaching the Bulkley Bridge to 47 Sigourney. 84 eastbound, you got delays a mile before 46th Avenue into the tunnel. 291 eastbound looking a little slow from I-91 over to the Bissell Bridge as you move towards South Windsor. 2 westbound East Hartford tied up from 1D up to the 84 West merge. If you're traveling 2 eastbound, you'll see some slow traffic as you move off of I-84 out to exit 3 in East Hartford. Traveling 3 northbound, some delays now from the exit 13 area up to the Route 2 ramps in Glastonbury. 9 northbound slowing from exit, that'd be 22 in Middletown up to the Aragoni Bridge. Again, delays 9 northbound from exit 32 up to 34 in New Britain. Heading toward Waterbury, heavy westbound 84 from the area of the 691 interchange up to exit 25A. 84 eastbound, you'll slow by 18. Again, some slow traffic by 23 in Waterbury. 84 eastbound, Danbury tight, New York, Connecticut line out to 5. Again, slow traffic from 9 in Newtown out to exit 11. Southbound Parkway a little tight as you move down toward the West Rock Tunnel, and 95 southbound New Haven running slow 46 to 43 in West Haven. Traffic and weather together on the 8th WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
For the rest of our Wednesday afternoon, sunny to partly cloudy, very pleasant, great day to be outdoors with the high of 73. Mainly clear tonight, cool with the low down to 44. Another beautiful day on Thursday, sunny, very pleasant with the high of 74. Partly cloudy, not nearly as cool Thursday night, the low only down to 52. Then a warm day Friday with some filtered sunshine, the high of 83. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
WTIC is celebrating 100 years on the air and 100 years of serving Connecticut. This is WTIC and WTIC FM HD2 Hartford, an Odyssey station.
5 o'clock, Hartford temperature 72 degrees. Good afternoon. I'm John Silva. WTIC 1080 News. One person's under arrest after Waterbury police say the driver of a stolen box truck plowed into several vehicles this afternoon, including a pair of police cruisers. The incident occurred on Grand Street. Police report there were minor injuries in that crash. That area of Grand Street had to be closed as police processed the scene. As budget season brings negotiations between lawmakers and the governor, state nonprofits say they need more funding than what's being proposed. Still, Connecticut Nonprofit Alliance CEO John Carl Casa says the lawmakers' proposal is better than what Governor Lamont's offering. It would restore a full $50 million of federal funding that is expiring, something Governor Lamont doesn't plan to do.
Governor's proposal earlier this year restored 31 million of that, kept 31 million of that for nonprofits, leaving nonprofits $19 million shy of what they have in this fiscal year. Problem with that is cuts would be devastating.
Now, Casa says the state should commit another $210 million for nonprofits in the 2-year spending plan. As things stand now, he says many nonprofits have wait lists for services, including mental health and addiction care. Money the city of New Britain has been saving for a tax stabilization fund for about 6 years being put toward a proposed cut in the mill rate for the 2025-26 municipal year. Mayor Erin Stewart, who is not seeking re-election as she considers a run for governor, says savings under her watch have allowed the city to operate with a $34 million surplus, giving her the chance to cut taxes slightly for residents.
I didn't, totally empty it. There is still about $4 million left into it. So whoever's mayor after me will have access to that as well for its intended purpose to keep taxes low.
City Council still has to approve the $273 million spending plan she is offering. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is cautiously optimistic about the U.S. role in the global economy. Bessent says America first doesn't mean America alone. Linda Kenyon reports.
The president says every country wants to make a deal to lower his trade tariffs.
Even countries that have ripped us off for many, many years, China is an example.
Speaking to reporters on the North Lawn of the White House, Trump said the tariffs are long overdue.
They're not going to be a laughing stock got taken advantage of by virtually every country in the world.
The tariffs have sparked global economic concerns, while President Trump has acknowledged what he calls a period of discomfort. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
Thousands have gathered in St. Peter's Square to mourn Pope Francis, who died Monday. They're waiting to get a glimpse of the coffin and pay respects, like this man from Atlanta.
It's such a surreal place, and it's very holy, and seeing the body and just remembering everything that he stood for is very important.
3 days of mourning underway. The funeral is Saturday morning. Stocks rose as a worldwide rally came back around to Wall Street. S&P climbed 1.7 points today after President Trump appeared to back off his criticism of the Federal Reserve and his tough talk in the trade war. The Dow added 1.1%. NASDAQ was up 2.5%, but the volatility is not over, says Ted Weisberg, a trader with Seaport Securities Corporation in Manhattan, and that is reflected in the first quarter earnings reports now coming out.
A lot of corporate America is reluctant to give any guidance because of all the unknowns. And this just translates into a very volatile stock market.
And for these stories and more, go to WTIC.com. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
How did you get your so fast?
Ayala Home Services, same-day electrical. I gave them a call, and they had a technician on their way. They even sent the technician's real-time location, so I knew when they would be here.
Did you say same day? That's crazy.
If you need same-day electrical, call, click, or text today and say hello, ALO, call for details. Licensed for safety. P10277688, D10401465, E11856443, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
Yard Goats Baseball is back Tuesday, April 29th for 6 straight games against the Orioles affiliate. Tuesday, we've got a Bouncing Pickles pickleball paddle giveaway. Wednesday, we honor our most improved students. Thursday, we honor the people of the Dominican Republic. Friday, we've got amazing food and drink specials. Saturday, post-game fireworks. And Sunday, May 4th, is Star Wars Day. Get your ticket at yardgoatsbaseball.com.
You got it. The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
What the heck did I do with that story that I just had? I seem to have got it. It turns out that Don and I, both of our grandfathers, were named Augustus. You know what? I'm telling you, man, that's God right there. Don and I, we go back and forth a lot. We're going to take more of your phone calls. Don't forget, during this hour, or near the end of the hour, we have our giveaway. So be the last but not least caller of the day, and you will win a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, located in South Windsor, Manchester, and Vernon. Also, help us out. We've only got a week from today for you to purchase a Reese's Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwich from Between Rounds. $1 of that, the proceeds, will go to our friends at the Friendly Hands Food Bank. I'm also talking to Craig and many others. Well, Craig's actually doing a lot of the legwork. I'm just going to give Craig a round of applause. So I'm going to be honest about something. I am in over my head on this Reese on the Radio ride. I've never set this stuff up before, but I think it would be a good deal. Why? Because I really do believe in doing charitable work. I just believe in charity. So what we really want to do is to have something for a veterans organization, a local veterans organization. I know that they're the big ones, the big names and all that stuff. But if there's a Connecticut veterans organization that we can hook up with, where we can have the proceeds of the ride go to that organization. If we play our cards right, I think we can get a good chunk of change towards that charity. And if we do it every year, as it becomes easier and easier to do, we could do that every fall, and it would be the annual Reese on the Radio ride. More and more people would jump in. And look, even if we were able to come up with like $5,000, $10,000, something like that, I know it seems small, but at the same time, it's great, and it's getting the community together, and there are speakers. Maybe we'll get a live band, an undiscovered band, or some folks that hang out at the garage and play Mustang Sally at the local bar. Whatever we can do, we'll just do something like that. All right? I think it'd be a good idea. Hey, if we can't get a band, we can get our very own Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center to DJ, world-renowned DJ.
Yeah,
Mark
give me
Christopher.
the date. I'd love to do that.
Absolutely. Mark Christopher, by the way, do you have a DJ name or you just Mark the Shark?
Yeah, not really. Just, Mark Christopher, Mark the Shark. Yeah, whatever you want to call me.
Well, you got to have a DJ name, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, DJ
Like
Mark Ski.
Little Mark, maybe?
No little. No little.
No, okay, no little.
Yeah,
okay.
DJ Mark Ski. Just throw the name Ski in the back of the name. That's an
Ski.
80s thing. Yeah, Mark Ski, S-K-I.
Okay.
DJ Mark Ski.
Mark Ski with ya.
Yeah. Well, okay, we'll work on that.
All right. All right, Reese. I got a lot of aliases already, so I'm going to have another one soon. This is wild. Hey, if you're heading into Hartford right now, southbound 91, a little slow between 36 and 35. Again, 33 Jennings Road down to 32 A and B. Another slow down 27 down to 28. If you're northbound 91, that looks good. Cromwell through downtown up into Windsor. Westbound 84 is slowing, approaching the Bulkley Bridge out to 47 Sigourney. 84 eastbound delays a mile before 46 Sisson Avenue into the tunnel. 291 eastbound slowing I-91 over to the Bissell Bridge as you head towards South Windsor. 2 westbound slowing from 1D up to the 84 West merge in East Hartford. 9 northbound Middletown, you've got tight traffic 22 up to the Aragoni Bridge. 9 northbound in Berlin into New Britain. Some slow traffic between 2 and exit 24. Westbound side of 84 is running slow in Cheshire between 691 and exit 25 in Waterbury. More delays 23 up to the Mixmaster in Waterbury. 84 eastbound is slowing by 18 in Waterbury. More delays again as you approach 25A Waterbury down to the 691 interchange. Over to Danbury, 84 eastbound delays New York, Connecticut line to 5. Again, slowing from 8 in Danbury. Sluggish and stop and go out to 11 in Newtown. Southbound Parkway, a little tight between 60 and the West Rock Tunnel. 95 southbound delays New Haven 46 down to 44. Traffic and weather together on the 8th WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
Mostly clear, cool tonight. The low down to 46. Then a beautiful day as we make our way into Thursday. Sunny and warm. The high of 77. Partly cloudy on Thursday night. The low down to 52. Then a warm day Friday to round out the week with sun and some areas of high clouds. The high of 83. Couple of showers and a thunderstorm Saturday. Breezy and cooler. The high 66. Partly sunny Sunday. Windy but dry. A high again of 66. Right now, it's 68 in New London, 72 in Mansfield, and 73 in Hartford. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind zero-turn and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow. Available at participating dealers.
This is Dale for Northeast Men's Health, where we've successfully treated thousands of men for low testosterone and helped them feel like their old selves again. Please take a moment and listen to how we help Marty.
I was a really grumpy guy, sleeping like garbage and getting older. The energy level was just in the toilet. And that was what led to me going in. I've been treated at Northeast Men's Health for low testosterone coming on about 2 years now. Within a few weeks, I started noticing I was sleeping a little bit better. I definitely noticed a higher energy level, but the old man crankiness just went away. I'm able to stay really well organized. Nothing slips through the cracks. Having the tea treatment is leading me to keep on top of my game. What I would say to any other guy that is in the same situation where they feel like they're dragging, just call Northeast Men's Health. You won't regret it.
Thanks, Marty. It's true. Low T therapy can dramatically change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call today, 800-930-5956, or go to northeastmenshealth.com.
Prescriptions required. 1 minute. Provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims... Your free online visit and save up to 95%. Go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Reese on the radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Drop it. I don't want this to be too loud, so I want to make sure that I play this right. So Michael A. in the chat room just said, hey, Reese, between rounds talked about you. Your PB&J sandwich with Friendly Hand Food Bank commercial was on this morning. It's weird. I didn't hear it. It doesn't play during the day, does it, Roland? Does it not play?
I don't think I heard it one time since you have started it. So
yeah, well,
and that was yesterday. That was my first time ever hearing it.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't heard it, Jerry from Between Rounds did cut a commercial, so I'd like to at least get you guys an opportunity to hear it because I love it. I thought it was very, very nice of them to do it.
Hi, I'm Jerry Puya from Between Rounds Bakery Sandwich Cafe. April 2nd is National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. As we all know from our childhoods, peanut butter and jelly is a delicious comfort food. Ask a kid, they'll tell you. For all of April, we want to help the Friendly Hands Food Bank charity. This charity is a favorite of a good friend and promoter of Between Rounds, Reese on the radio. I guess you could call it the Reese's Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwich. For each Reese's Peanut Butter and Jelly Sandwich we sell, Between Rounds will donate $1 to the Friendly Hands Food Bank charity. Help us help others and enjoy an awesome Between Rounds peanut butter and jelly sandwich on your choice of bagel, bread, or roll. We have retail locations in Vernon, Manchester, South Windsor, East Windsor, and Tolland. Between Rounds Bakery Sandwich Cafe. We'd love to see you. Visit BetweenRoundsBagels.com for franchise information.
There you go. That's pretty much it. For those of you who didn't get to hear it. So I was very, very proud. I played it for my wife like right before it started airing. And, of course, my wife was like grinning ear to ear. So, I kind of feel like, those weird things that happen to you when you feel like you arrived. that was one of those things where I was kind of like, yeah, I've arrived. I felt good about it. I put it put a really, really big smile on my face that they would do that and make me a part of it. And I really feel good because, of course, Friendly Hands Food Bank, when I told Karen, I will tell you this, and Karen will probably be, right now, she's going to be blushing after I tell the story. So when they asked me who the charity was that I wanted to do, I didn't hesitate. I immediately said, Karen at Friendly Hands Food Bank. I didn't have to wait. I knew right off the bat. And so then when he said, okay, look, we think we're going to do it, and it looks good. And I said, I was great. So I contacted Karen immediately, and I said to her, hey, listen, I want to tell you some good news. Between Rounds is going to do this thing with us, and I wanted to let you know that the charity that I chose was yours. And I told her the whole breakdown, giving them $1. And she was like, completely overwhelmed. She was like, oh, my God, thank you so much. But what was so great was after we had the phone call, and, we're joking, we're laughing, we're talking about the show, and her husband, Ken, loves the show and a big fan of his. As we were about to end the phone call, my wife and I are about to hang up the phone, but Karen is obviously hadn't hung up the phone yet. She's walking away, and I heard her in the background go, holy ish. And she cursed in the back, and my wife and I could burst in the laughter because she was just so surprised. And that was, in that moment, I knew that I picked the right people, the right person. She was completely surprised, and I loved surprising her in doing that. And this is a labor of love for me to do something for her, and she's been so great to me. So I appreciate that. And that's why I told you guys at the beginning, please support Friendly Hands Food Bank by buying a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from Between Rounds. So I just want to get that out there because I know it's going to end soon, and I hadn't really talked about it to any extent. So we got a week from today when it ends. So please help out, make me proud. I know you can, and I know you already have. All right? So with that, let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Frank in Newington. Hey, Frank.
Hello?
Hey, Frank. What's up?
Hey, Reese. How you doing?
I'm good, sir.
Okay, two things. I was listening before, and you said how your grandfather turned around and said it wasn't a white man that started slavery.
Yeah, in other words, he said he looked at it and said, as I was writing to somebody in the chat room, he said I had a better chance as a black man in the country that bought me than the country that sold me. That was the way he looked at it.
If you look at the history, actually, the black slaves that were sold from Africa were actually prisoners of war from tribes.
Exactly. That famous movie that talks about that.
Black men selling black men.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a crazier fact because I learned about this in history. That actually Irish people were the very first slaves here in America.
Very true.
They were sold by Vikings and English who would raid Ireland over and over again. They would kill the men, take the women and children, and sell them separately.
Right. And we can't forget the Barbary pirates. Can't forget those. That's where we get the term barbarism from.
And then this goes back to yesterday where there was some talk about, racism and stuff like this.
Right.
This is what I've taught my kids, every one of my kids and everything I do, since the day they were born. And I try to live this my same way, my life this way. I realized that there are two types of every color and religion and thinking and everywhere. You're either good people or you're trash. And I tell my sons, stay with the good people.
Right.
And you won't have problems.
There you go.
If you have to deal with the trash, which are those, of course, are ones that end up being the slang words that we refer to them as.
Right.
I say, if you have to deal with them as little as possible and then get the hell away from them.
Or as I like to say, if you have to deal with the trash, wear gloves.
I like that. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, man. I always love listening to you on the way home.
My pleasure, Frank. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. White Mike is calling all the way from Florida. What's going on, boss man? Who do you got? What do you got going on for me today?
Are you going to tell me that sleazy little gay comedian dancing in leather pants and high heels just had the audacity to tell us that any peace deal that involves Russia keeping Crimea is off the table? Does this little piece of garbage not understand how war works?
Yeah.
They lost Crimea.
They lost it in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, you don't really think that this is what Zelensky really believes. Listen, this is a guy who's throwing dirt in the game, another condition to make this war, because what is he doing? What's Zelensky doing? What do we know? The well-known secret that everybody's been exposed to, but you're not allowed to say. He's fleecing European countries from money. That's what he's doing. He wants this war effort to continue.
He fleeced us for billions. There's Bentleys and Rolls Royces all over Kyiv. So, no, I think it's time for Trump to just, I don't know if we can cut off support because before Biden went, he signed some agreement that pretty much funds that war forever.
Internally, yeah.
I'm done with it. There's nothing that's going to be gained from this. And to be fair, I don't think Zelensky's a good guy. I think he's kind of a monster.
Listen, I said that too. Donbass is a perfect example that this guy is a monster. I told everybody in every argument that I ever made about this case. It's like people keep looking at this like they're watching some Hollywood film. There were good guys and there were bad guys. That's never the case in war. Even in Bosnia, which switched support. It's like the same thing with the Kurds in Syria. In 1 minute, even Saddam Hussein, we supported him as its ruler and then turned our backs on him.
Well, we supported the war in Bosnia, Herzegovina.
Exactly.
It was the dumbest I've ever seen because we were siding with Muslims against Christians.
Exactly.
Insanity. That was
This
deal,
is
right?
exactly it is. Yeah, that's the Clinton deal. I remember that. I remember the first time I heard about that story, and I went, "Wait a minute! Did we just switch sides during that war?" And we did blatantly, right, blatant in front of everybody.
The thing about Saddam, we supported Saddam when he was fighting the war with Iran, and then after we, the whole story.
Sure.
We told him he could slam drill under the border into Kuwait.
Yep.
And then we decided to kick his butt. But then we didn't remove him, did we?
Exactly.
No. He got to stay. And why was that? Because the first Bush wasn't an idiot. He understood international politics and knew that Saddam was better than no Saddam.
Exactly.
So now we have Zelensky, who's robbing us blind, who's more than willing to send every young Ukrainian man from 15 up to die in this meat grinder. And for what? They're not giving back Crimea. Crimea's it, buddy. There's a naval base there that Russia needs.
And that was supposed to be, that was the hugest part of this negotiation. People forget that before the annexing of Crimea, there was a deal on hand for Russia to be able to take over the Navy base without any provocation, without any war. But they reneged on the deal. That was the whole, and people keep forgetting that.
Well, and there was a deal in place, and then the British got involved
Exactly.
and changed the deal, told Ukraine to tell Russia to pound sand.
Exactly.
I'm so tired of this being on our radar and spending this much money on it. I'm almost to the point I'd be happy if we just flew a B-2 over and took Zelensky's presidential palace out and ended the whole thing.
I don't listen. I believe that look, Zelensky, like many of these, sort of despots, if you will, do. He will wear out his welcome. It's always the case. The guy will continue. While look, everyone keeps saying the whole the peace for Ukraine or supporting Ukraine. After a while, and thank God, that's the one thing I can depend on liberals. They are fickle. They are timid. And fickle is a huge part. Whatever they supported 6 months ago, immediately they turn their backs on. Remember, they love Tesla. Now they hate it. It's the same thing with Ukraine. It's good. They're going to turn their backs on it.
You have noticed there's no huge support for Carmelo Anthony amongst the white liberals, really.
Yeah.
He didn't get the floor at all.
Yeah.
That YN is out in the cold, son.
I got to go. Thank you, Walter. The white folks are not supporting it anymore because the family, again, is out. Again, overstaying their welcome and doing silly things that people cannot be on board with it. And it's all over social media. That's why people are bouncing. Anyway, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Let's go to Tom in Thomaston. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Reese. Oh, yeah, I'd love to make a comment on that nutty lawyer for that kid that stabbed the track guy.
Carmelo, yeah.
But first, did you ever think of maybe there's American Legions all over the state? I just joined the American Legion. I forget what number is Torrington area.
Okay.
But we could pick a Legion every year or something.
Okay. The American Legion is a great. There was a great one in my old town that I loved. Do they do what's their? You know what? Send me some information on them. I'd love to know, like, if they have like sort of a charitable organization. Because what we're doing is we're trying to figure out which veteran organization we could actually help out that's local. Sure, we have the national ones, but they do particularly well. But I'm sure there are local charities.
I'm going to go to the next Torrington one. They meet like once a month. I'm sure some units are much more active than others.
Okay.
So I'm sure you could find one that does that, and maybe you could have all different unions like make a donation and then go into a pool to get picked or something. I'm sure some of the units really do a lot of helpful stuff.
Well, tell them to, if you could, just tell whatever the leadership is there to listen to the show. I'm going to continue to talk about it this week and next week. And
Whoa, that's not me.
Sorry.
I got a large.
Just get them to listen to the show. And if there's something of interest, just let them know to get in touch with me and we'll do that then. All right?
I will.
Thank you,
now,
sir.
Can I make a comment on that lawyer?
He is not the lawyer. You're talking about the guy who had the press conference? That's just their spokesperson.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was a lawyer.
No.
That guy is the most. Have you played any of his clips?
No, I refuse.
I haven't been able to listen today.
No, I'm not going to play.
He's the biggest moron in the world.
He is. He's the one. Listen, there's always that one guy that says something way too much. Benjamin Crumb. You notice you haven't seen him in a long time because Benjamin Crumb always has a way to destroy the message by opening his mouth. This guy only talks about his New Generation Action Network. That's all he's promoting. He's trying to make a name for himself.
He makes that Crump guy look like a mess of genius.
He does. He absolutely does. He's a mess. And I think that's the reason why you've not seen him on national television, because nobody wants to be seen with the guy. Usually the news media is flocking to race baiters like this, but you'll notice the hesitation. Like CNN has not had this guy on in repetition because they know that the support of Carmelo Anthony is waning, and it's waning a lot. So that's why you're not going to see this guy. Thank you, Tom. Much appreciated, sir. Let me get to okay, Chris is in the car. Chris, stand by. We'll get to you, I promise. But don't forget, folks, you could be the last but not least a caller today. And I was looking at a town today. Let's see if I can give a shout out to a town real quick. Let me see. Maybe I could even ask Mark Christopher to see if he can pick a town that we could choose from. Let me see. Current week. Let me see who some of our most ardent listeners are based on location in Connecticut. Let me go real fast. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm holding you up. By the way, Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. I'm going to go with anyone who is in Oxford. Somebody in Oxford. Call us up. Be the last but not least caller of the day. Let's get to Mark Christopher and Jason Catarina in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, man.
Hey, you know, I'm not one to brag, but it's our birthday, 100 years. I'm sure you've heard, and I'm sure the present that you have for us is incredible, right?
Same thing we got you last year, but this year in blue. It's Reese on the radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. We got Colonel Kirk on the line. I don't know if I should get to him now, but maybe I'll get to him at the top of the break, or at least the other side of this break, because he probably has a lot to talk about, and I don't want to shortchange him. So, Colonel, if you can hear me, stand by. I'll get to you in a second, and we'll talk. I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're calling about, but we'll figure it out. I just want to give you a due course, or get your full statement or commentary, so we can have an exchange. So I don't want to be up against a break. When we get back, also, if we don't get to it, I want to try to. Have you heard about the producer from 60 Minutes? I think his name is Bill Owens. He resigned because there is a lawsuit pending with CBS News for billions of dollars about the Kamala Harris interview that was done and very much edited. The FCC got involved in it. And there is a lot of pushback that the head of CBS, Sumner Redstone's wife, is saying, look, I'm going to have editorial scrutiny over what goes over our airways. And Bill Owens is absolutely livid about this and is resigning because he's being told that he can't make the executive decisions at 60 Minutes anymore. But Bill Owens is saying a lot because, again, I'm always hesitant to do this when I really don't know the guy. But this is a guy who is the producer of the premier news magazine show 60 Minutes. He is upset because he is being asked to apologize to Donald Trump, and that is a bridge too far for him. Now, I got to be honest. And I know it's going to sound cruel. Again, I don't know this guy. But if there's ever anything that is telling about a person, is the ability to apologize when you are clearly wrong. When you have the ability to apologize when you're clearly wrong. Did you edit Kamala Harris's answer as the executive producer? Did you edit her answer about Benjamin Netanyahu before an election? Yes, you did. It is undeniable. You had to release that video that confirmed that it was true. We all found out about it. You let us know that you doctored it, and you should apologize. That's it. You don't have to apologize to me and like, oh, Donald, it's not groveling. It's apologizing for wrongdoing. And because you made that crucial error, and you should know better, your boss is going to say, obviously, I cannot leave you to your own devices. If that's a problem, I don't have a problem with him resigning. It's an absolute right to. But the fact that you are resigning because you can't apologize says everything we need to know. Everything. So, with that, we'll talk about it in a little bit. I'll tell you the whole story and see if we can. Let's get another check of weather and traffic with Jason Catarina and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, man.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is. You know who it is. You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
Matt said in the chat room, why give him the dignity of resigning? I know, I'd have fired him. I'd have just fired him and just said, you know what, I'm done with you. That's what I would have done. Anyway, let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Colonel Kirk is in North Canaan. How are you, sir?
Hello, Reese.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you very much, Reese. I'm the commander of the Couch Pipa VFW Post 6851 in North Canaan, Connecticut.
Okay.
The nosebleed seats of Connecticut.
Okay.
We're way up here in the northwest corner near the border of Massachusetts, New York, and whatnot.
Okay.
I want to kind of refer back to the gentleman who called a little while ago, Reese, and mentioned something about potential fundraiser or doing some kind of money or whatever it was. I missed probably the first part of that whole.
Okay. Would you like me to
talk that you
describe
may
it?
have given.
Would you like me to describe it to
go
you?
ahead, Reese, please.
Okay. So what I was thinking of, my wife and I just bought bikes, and we really, really do like them. We love riding bikes. And I said, I feel like in doing that, in finding this newfound sort of, interest in bike riding, I thought, you know what? We're doing this thing with Friendly Hands Food Bank, and between rounds, I could think of some other charities that I could do. Maybe a Reese on the Radio ride where people who have all types of bikes and, roller skates and whatever, we can do a 10-mile ride somewhere in Connecticut, and the proceeds of it, you get people to donate to you for the miles that you do. We would take that money and give it to a charity. And my wife immediately said, a veterans organization. And I said, you know what? That sounds perfect. So what we're going to do is try to get maybe, as many people as we can. Hopefully, maybe we get 100. Doesn't matter what you bring, a bicycle, nothing gas-powered. You could bring an electric bike or whatever. We do 10 miles. Everybody gets a donation from an individual to sponsor per mile or the whole 10 miles at about $5, maybe $10 a click. Whatever we accumulate, we give that to the charity. That's the whole deal.
That's amazing. We are in the northwest part of Connecticut, and it's absolutely gorgeous up here. If you're familiar with the area from Cornwall to Salisbury, Sharon, Kent, Falls Village, North Canaan, it's gorgeous bike riding territory.
Okay.
I don't know what the rest of the state. I mean, realize there's so many great places to ride in this great state of ours, but this is such a beautiful, the hills and the riding and the traffic is pretty good. They allow pedaling on the highways, and there's always some kind of road race or something going on up here.
Okay.
But I'd like to just proffer a little bit there, Reese, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
If you could look at that and say, let's raise money, I think for a great cause. Yes, veterans organization, beautiful. Everybody's looking to raise money. American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, you name it, they're all out there. But I think through that auspices of doing a fundraiser, it'd be great to get back to local communities, as you said, as an organization.
Sure.
So we can do an Adopt a Highway. You can do many different ideas, many different things, and really make this creative in a sense. And our post is willing to donate $100 toward this cause right now. And I think it'd be great if you can get sponsors and maybe other people across the state of Connecticut through your WTIC listeners to look at something and maybe make it to the point of, yes, Couch Pipa VFW Post 6851 won X amount of dollars, but really the intent would be Couch Pipa VFW Post 6851 gave back $1,000 to the local food banks in 3 little small towns up here. I mean, a bike ride is wonderful, and I think I'll just put it out there. This is a great area to ride, Reese. A great area.
I think
to
what
ride.
you're saying is, now tell me if I'm getting this right. So in essence, sort of instead of dedicating it to one particular town, make this a Connecticut event, right? In essence,
exactly.
we can do this everywhere in Connecticut where bike trails may exist, not just in the Northwest region. We can go in the Southeast region, whatever it is, and sort of have it every year in a certain town. So we're, again, giving charitable or helping charitably different locations in and around Connecticut, and every year it could be, and I would equate it to, and I know Brian will probably say, hey, stole my idea, but it's a great idea. It's sort of like what Brian Shackman is doing in the morning where he's darting across Connecticut. It's an opportunity to put focus on that small little, subset of the Connecticut landscape and do that bike ride every year around those areas. Right?
That's beautiful. And I'll tell you, I grew up in Iowa. We have what they call RAGBRAI. And I heard Brian talk about this before, but RAGBRAI is the one register. Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa.
Okay.
And it starts in small towns from the east coast of, the west coast of Iowa, the western part of the state, all the way to the eastern part. It's about a 7-day ride.
Right.
And it's wonderful. Every small town, every different year you do it, every small town wins.
Right.
Big towns as well, but every small town wins, from the housing, the hotels, the food trucks. the barbecues. You camp out in tents. You do all these things. And for a 7-day ride across the state of Connecticut, which is essentially probably about the same distance from Sioux City, Iowa to Dubuque, Iowa would be, 300 and some miles. But it's great because you can start in every small town and make this an annual ride.
Yeah.
It'd be a beautiful thing.
It is, and again, it gives an opportunity. One, I can get my feet wet in all sections of Connecticut. Not only that, we can get people to get into the regions of Connecticut they normally don't get to. If they wanted to make a weekend of it, it does help the local community with hotels and other business, shopping, of course, restaurants and all that stuff. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a great idea because it does help the local community and whatever charity is in that town. That's a great idea. Listen, everyone has been contributing to this in such a positive way, Colonel. There isn't a thing that I've heard so far from Craig, who's talked to me about it, and Matt in West Hartford. Every person who's mentioned something about it has only expanded this to be something I want to do more and more every day. When I think I'm at 100% with this thing, I get to 150 every time I talk about it because you guys, you get it. And I know that you do. And I'm so excited. Craig said to me, don't worry about it. If you don't get it done this year, there's always next year because it sounds like there's so much to do. I'm hoping if we can do it, Colonel, if we can get it by the fall, even if it's late fall, I just want to see if we can get it by the fall. But if we don't, it may have to wait till spring. But it is something that I sort of sunk my teeth into, and I don't want to let it go. So I thank you for that. Stay in touch. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on hold. If you could give your information to Roland, and I can give you a call sometime this weekend, and we can talk a little more.
You got it, Reese. Roger that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let me put you on hold now, and Roland will get your number, and I'll give you a holler. It's again, I don't know why I woke up. I don't know if I even told you this story. I woke up from a dream, and all I could think about was buying this bike. I said, I got to get a bike. I just got to get a bike. And I told my wife, hey, let's go window shopping. And I didn't tell her what or where. And I just started walking around these pawn shops because I knew they would have one that was inexpensive. I just didn't want to get a $1,000 bike, guys. I'm sorry. I'm on a budget. I'm still not officially full-time yet. Nothing against that. I'm just not. So, and I just said, I got to get this bike. And when I got it, I felt great about it. I still feel good about it. I love that bike. I ride it every day. And I thought there was something about it just said, I really did. I felt like God spoke to me. I really do. As I was riding, it was just telling me, it's like, yeah, do something like use it for good. And I'm just on it. And every person who's called me about it has given me something more to want to do it. Like they've only added to it. Yeah, Lori said divine intervention. I really do believe that. Yeah, it's just, I don't know why. It just popped into my head. Just did. Anyway, so I'm hoping. Now, can I tell you this story before we get out of here? And by the way, if you are in Oxford, okay, and you're listening to the show, pick up the phone right now, 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Get on the phone so I can get you a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds. Excuse me. So let me tell you this story about what happened to me. Roland, this is going to freak you out. Have you ever seen a feral hog, by the way?
I have not.
You have not. Okay, so look it up.
I don't go outside much.
Yeah.
I'm an indoors person.
Okay, I want you to look up feral hogs.
All right.
Black feral hogs. I want you to look at the size of them. Now, again, I'm telling this on radio. So for those of you who are driving home, so I am painting a picture for you, theater of the mind, if you will. So my wife and I are riding on the bikes, and we're getting a good pace. Yeah, we're getting a good pace. And we're, just riding. And it was a big rain 2 nights before. So we're getting a lot of lizards who are jumping in front of us. And I'm worried that I don't want to squash one. It's like running in front of a squirrel or some other rodent. You immediately lose your balance. And I'm, these guys are a little weird. Anyway, so all of a sudden we start riding, and all of a sudden, we just see this thing come out of the grass, the tall grass and the trees, out of nowhere, about a good 50 feet in front of us. Not even, no, couldn't have been 50 feet. I would say it was 30 yards, if that, ahead of us. He just pops out, stands at the trail, looks at us. We slow down, and then he keeps going. And we stand there and we wait for him to get on the other side of the trail. When he's disappeared, we go, all right, screw it. Let's just go. We thinking it's just one boar. It's just one. So we start riding again. Now we're in the groove. Like, the wife and I are pedaling at the same pace, you know? You would think we're on a tandem bike. That's the rhythm that we had. And we were going around a curve. It was you think we were in, like, you know, Quest for Fire. You know, like, no, not Quest for Fire. What's the other one? Chariots of Fire. That's the one. We've got that rhythm going. Husband and wife. Yeah, synchronicity. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we start seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 wild ferals, they start coming out in a herd. Just start crossing the path. Both of our bikes. This time, they're about 40 yards from us. They're a little further, but there are a lot of them. A lot. So at this point, we're like, holy crap. Now, in my head, I'm remembering every Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom I've ever watched when I was 7. Every one of them. I'm in the database going, which episode was about feral hogs? I could find none. But the one thing that I knew, in my head, I knew they attack. They attack. In fact, ranchers have to shoot them from a distance. Like they do. They climb up in the mountains and, got to take them out one by one because, they destroy crops and everything else. So I knew it. And I'm saying to myself, I don't know how many are out here. There's so much tall grass and we've got to go around corners and stuff. God forbid one pops out. It hits your bike. You're on the ground and next thing you know, you're fighting for your life. I was scared to death. And my wife is behind me and I look at her and I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie, Roland. The first thing I said in my head was, you're going to look like a sucker in front of your wife. You're going to look like a scared chump.
Okay. I thought you were about to say you going to kick her and
No!
So you could get away.
No, I was scared that I was like, if I tell my wife that I'm scared, she's going to think the worst of me. And
yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't show her that I was afraid. So I looked at her and I paused and I just stared at her. I kept staring at her and I waited like 4 seconds and I knew I wasn't going to I couldn't give that much of a dramatic pause. I couldn't have been 3-4 seconds in. She turned around and said, oh, hell no, we're going back the other way. I went, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right, sweetheart. Yeah, we go back. Yeah, you've got the right idea. In my head, I'm suddenly going, thank God she said something. Thank God. I'm so scared. Because that's all I could think of. And you know what? This was another thing. Have you ever seen the movie The Princess Bride? Have you ever seen? You had to have seen that.
I'm sure I've seen it.
Okay. Well, The Princess Bride, everybody knows the RUSs, the rodents of unusual size. That's the whole thing I was thinking about on the ride back home. Was like, if one of these things gets me off the bike, and I would be fighting with it. I didn't see
have to fight, man.
Yeah, I'm going to have to fight a wild animal. I was going to be on the like I was going to be Captain Kirk in this place. I was scared to death. Thank God she said, no, let's go back the other way. We're out of here. All right, folks, time for me to get up out of here. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your minds. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio, scared to death of big fat pigs.
Chris, you stay on hold.
Chris, stay on hold. We will get you a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds. He's our last but not least caller of the day. Mark, Christopher, and Jason Catarinas, they've got your weather and traffic in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, Mark.
Hey, good night, Reese. Have a good one. If you're heading into Hartford right now, 91 southbound delays 33 to 30.
All right, good sir.
John said Boar's head of ham.
Northbound 91.
Yeah. Okay. You wonder why them them kings back in the day used to go hunting for them, and some of them used to get killed out there with them boars. They ain't nothing to play with.
No,
on Hartford 291 eastbound.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Bridge.
All right, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Exit 1D up to the 84 West merge in East Hartford. If you are heading into Middletown, that looks good now. 90 in the Aragoni Bridge.
Oh, good night, Laurie. Thank you, Michael A. Yeah, I'm not messing with those things anymore. Bring a flamethrower next time. Yeah, Polly, that's the way I felt all day yesterday. Honey baked ham if you killed one. I wouldn't have eaten that stuff. I wouldn't have eaten it. They can kill a human. Yeah, I heard that. I heard they can easily kill a human being. That's the reason why I was like, oh, hell no. We called animal control and everything. So, what are you going to do? So, like I said, I don't mind looking like a sucker there. Anyway, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And you turn the feral hogs into wild boars. No, they're just, no, not. Well, they're feral hogs. I'm calling them wild hogs or wild boars. I don't know what they are. I didn't think there was a difference. I thought they were all the same thing. All I know is they're big, they're ugly, and they look mean. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Don't forget, tomorrow is, of course, the show that always brings controversy to the program. Where is it? Where are you at? There we go.
Negro nonsense. Negro nonsense. Negro nonsense.
All 5 of my black listeners are angry right now. We'll see you guys tomorrow.